This episode of the Leap Forward podcast is brought to you by Bridge LT, leaders in conversational learning and innovation. Through AI role plays, technical simulators, and comprehensive training programs, Bridge LT is revolutionizing the future of corporate and enterprise education.
Today on Leap Forward, we're joined by Rebecca Tisdale, a learning and development innovator with a passion for redefining workplace training. From her early days in beauty therapy to pioneering gamified learning programs, like a global retail training app during her time at Lego, Rebecca unpacks how micro-learning and play can transform even the most fast-paced industries. Let's get started.
So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome to this edition of Leap Forward, Rebecca Tisdale, who is a learning and development professional with an incredible career. Rebecca, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So without further ado, tell us a little bit about your kind of career to date.
My goodness, where to start? As a lot of people would say, it's a bit wiggly. It's nothing straightforward or easygoing. I started actually my career in beauty therapy in a spa, which was quite fun. And then somehow, as everybody does in this industry, I kind of ended up in learning and development. And I'm not sure how that happened, but it was the best thing I did. It's been so much fun. Anything from cybersecurity companies through to telecoms, through to data centers, and more recently at Lego, which was so much fun.
Tell us a little bit about the role at Lego.
I did 2 different contracts there. First one, I came on board as they were centralizing their L&D department when it was already quite segregated across the business. And they wanted to bring everybody into one central department. And so my role with over that 7 months was to create a new way of working for that new team. Pull together what people do well, where there could be improvements made, and create a new process that they were all going to follow once they created this new department. My second role within Lego was probably the coolest job to date. And that was on the global retail team, looking after all of the Lego stores around the world and how the staff are onboarded, trained, upskilled, but through learning through play, which is Lego's way of learning, and childlike mentality and just having fun. And it was such a cool role. I loved it there. It was everything you'd imagine it to be. It's just, here's some Lego, go play, have fun, be a kid, enjoy.
Tell me more about, I suppose, some of the kind of the approach and the challenges, and opportunities that you've got to basically kind of distribute training, learning and development, across kind of remote and deskless kind of workforces.
Absolutely. So in my roles previous to Lego, where I was working at data centers, a lot of that was deskless workers, but in a very different environment, more of a sort of factory, blue collar setting. This, however, was a lot of fun because it was retail, which I've never worked in before. So that was fun to put my L&D expertise into a new industry, which was cool. But also Lego stores are not just retail stores. They are an experience. And so when somebody goes into a Lego store, they're not just there to buy a product. They're there to absorb the brand. They're there to have fun. They're there to have what we call hands on bricks and touch the product. And it could be anything from children through to adults as the customer. So in terms of upskilling the staff, it's not just that the store does one thing. They do a multitude of different things. And so trying to train the staff, in a retail environment, which for anybody who's worked in retail before, they'll know it's a challenging environment because there's not much back office space. It's most of the space of the store is the shop front, and you're customer facing, you're on show, if you like, to the customers. And so to train new staff, especially in seasonal time, where you might have an influx of a lot of staff to train at one time, could be quite challenging because the back office is primarily a stock room. And there's one computer for mostly management to use for admin. So it is quite challenging, but also the learning through play aspect and the fun of the brand. So while I was there, we were rolling out a project, which was the first of its kind within the company. And the company's also 100 years old. I didn't realize how old the company is, which is quite amazing. But it was called Learning Through Play at Scale. And it was a blended delivery. Using a third party company, we developed an app that the employees in the stores could use on a store device, an iPhone or an iPad, in the limited space back office that there was, maybe on the kitchenette and the break room. And they can go play this game, which was gamified micro learning. And so the employee would they would play a game which was minifigures. You're a minifigure in a Lego store and you have to go around completing missions. You come across avatar customers that you have to role play and interact with. And then you go onto the shop floor and you put it into practice with real life customers. And you have, in the onboarding process, you have what's called a brickmate, who's your buddy or your mentor. And so as you go and put this learning into practice with real customers, you then have a little 5-minute debrief with your buddy and go, how did it go? Were you nervous? Is there anything you might want to improve on? Go back into the back office, play the game a little bit more, go back and try again. But also, you weren't only just doing that in silo within the store, but you were also competing against other Lego employees around the world. So now you've got the competitive edge, and then you've got people playing against each other across different stores, districts, countries, regions, continents. And it was really lovely to give the power of the brand of you're not just one part-time student worker, shop employee serving customer after customer. You're part of a brand, you're part of a bigger product, a bigger picture. And it was really lovely to see their piece in the bigger picture, the jigsaw, which is amazing.
Yeah, this idea of short form, gamification, mobile delivery, it all sounds sort of extremely kind of relevant and current to the way that we're all trying to kind of overcome and tackle the challenges of kind of the modern day kind of working environment. And then when you throw in, as you said, the sort of the idea of trying to do this in a retail environment, which is, you know, highly fluid and frenetic at times, I guess, you know, that brings itself a whole kind of other dynamic. How do you train and develop people in that type of sort of volatile environment?
It is very volatile, and it could be, especially in a retail environment, it could be sometimes that the customer is maybe the child, and maybe they're a toddler and they want Duplo, and the purpose of their shop visit is to buy that for a toddler. But perhaps the parent is stressed, they're having a meltdown. Maybe the child is having a meltdown because perhaps they might be 5 or 6 years old and they might be having a meltdown because they are neurodiverse and they're overwhelmed and overstimulated by being in a store mall environment. So not only do you have to train staff to cater for the customer, their need, finding them the right product, and also giving them that experience of the hands-on bricks, give the child the bricks to play with and see how they get on with it. Knowing which product to advise for the customer what their need is, but also to manage not only that, but their experience in store. So some stores have kits for neurodiversity, some sensory kits, which if you know what you're looking for, there's a sticker on the shop window that parents will know that there is a sensory bag in there, which includes earplugs, ear defenders, fidget toys, things to help make their experience a lot better, but also how to cater to that customer's need. Is it a toddler? Is it a child? Is it an adult? And so how to train the staff is quite interesting because it's such a wide, broad range. And it literally is like Lego says on the box, from 0 to 99 years old, all walks of life, all different temperaments. And it's really interesting to try and train the staff for literally everybody in all different instances. And it really is just about being human and teaching people how to pick up on those elements, but also how to cater to the customer. And Lego stores aren't all just about a sale, it's just about the experience of the product, which is amazing.
And when you were working on this project, tell me a little bit about sort of how you were sort of measuring success.
Yeah. Well, When we rolled out the blended delivery of this learning through play at scale, this micro learning gamified way of learning, a lot of the pilot test results to see, is this something that the stores and the employees actually need and want? Is it going to work? A lot of that was done on sales, actually. So we took the reporting of the stores that we were piloting it with, we took their sales reporting, and then we compared it against reporting of sales once they'd had the product, the new way of learning. And then we tried to see, is there an uplift in sales in that particular store because of this way of learning? Is it that new staff coming in are being onboarded quicker? And also because when you have new staff coming to any role in any company, really, you generally use a subject matter expert or somebody who's been in the role a long time to train that new member of staff. Um, Sometimes bad habits can be passed along, and that's not always great. So it's nice to now uniform and align the way of learning across the board globally. This is the way the role should be done. But also, it gives the time back to that employee that's really good at being in front of the customer, who's really good at the sale, who's really good at the admin that the store needs to be done. It wins both ways, really. It helps learn in a global uniformed way, but it also gives time back to everybody involved. And so we looked at the metrics and the sales, and there was a vast improvement, especially in big stores in the US, like Disneyland. Disneyland stores are just a conveyor belt of just people all the time. The staff need to be constantly putting new stock onto the shelves. Because if you've ever been into a Lego store, there's never really gaps in the stock on the shelves. The boxes are always there, always front, always nice and flush. So in a big theme park, it's just crazy how much stuff you need on store. And just the chaos of kids high on sugar running around. And so it was really lovely to give them that precious time back that they needed, which was great.
Retail is often thought of, and deskless generally kind of sort of working kind of places are, retention is often a challenge, right? Tell me a little bit about sort of, staff turnover rates. Was that a challenge at Lego? And what impact did this initiative have on kind of retention?
Interestingly, so Lego is an interesting company because they're one of a kind, really, and they've been around for so long that there's so many different arms to their business now. They're not just a one product thing. So it could, obviously, you've got the traditional sense of bricks and the retail. So not only from the brick side of things, but you've got production, manufacturing, logistics, shipping, procurement. Then you've got the retail side, and then you've got the games, the gaming platform that they have. They've got movies. They've got theme parks. They've got there's literally everything. There's magazines. There's publication. So it's interesting as a company when you look at it in terms of staff turnover, for instance, and attrition, because it's not just looking at them as a one business. There's so many elements to the business. When you look at the corporate side of the business and the head office side, which is the side I worked on, attrition was very low, actually, because it's such a wonderful, one of a kind company to work for. It's very, very work-life balanced. It's very family orientated. It's very focused on employee well-being. And so therefore attrition was very low because people just love working for the brand. When you then look at different elements of the company, like retail, for instance, that's a slightly different picture because although they love working for the brand, it may be a job that they love. Sometimes their need of doing the role is very different to a corporate side. So it could be that they are a seasonal worker for Christmas. It could be they're a student part-time worker while they're at college. But it could be that they've gone up through management and they want to stay in the role for a long time and that's their career. So it's really interesting when you look at attrition. It's really hard to gauge, but ultimately, I didn't meet anybody in the time I was there who hated working for Lego. Anybody you speak to who works for Lego will absolutely love it. And yeah, it's a really interesting way of looking at it.
It's a testament to the brand and the values of the business, right? It's incredible. And that definitely kind of permeates into the product, but also into the customer experience, which from my own you know, perspective with 3 kids, has always been incredibly good, and I have such a high kind of I suppose in a sense regard for Lego as a brand and their products, and to ensure that that's sort of maintained through kind of projects, initiatives like the one you've been working on, is really fascinating. So what was the sort of speed and sort of scale of kind of the kind of the work that you were doing? Because you just mentioned Disney stores and so forth, so this was a global project. Tell me a little bit about kind of how you thought about kind of rolling this out at scale, and what sort of time frame were you rolling it out on?
It was in the making for a long time. There'd been a lot of background work from the team that I was on to make it so it could hit the ground running. So there was about, I would say, 8 months worth of groundwork before we piloted the product in store. And It was really interesting looking at that in a different way, because once I joined, they were just almost at the point of piloting the product. So a lot of the groundwork had already been done by the time I joined the team. But it was really interesting watching it through piloting. And it was really interesting working with the different stores. And there were some glitches that we found that we hadn't expected, as with any rollout of any pilot or product or scheme within a company. So when Lego stores are opened, they're given a store technology and equipment, which is an iPhone, iPad, etc. When we rolled the app out and we sent out the instructions to the piloting stores, you need to download the app on this device, and this is how you do it, and this is how you get started, on our quick start guide that we'd created, we found some issues because some of the older stores had older technology to the point where the iOS wasn't updating anymore because it was that old of an iPhone or an iPad. So therefore our app wasn't compatible with it. And so we ran into some glitches that way. And the issue we had actually is because the company is so large and the rollout and the speed of the company is so quick, they haven't had the time to go back to the older stores and update their technology. And that is such a huge project in itself within the company from an IT perspective. So we ran into some challenges. The pilot didn't kick off as smoothly as we'd liked because of some technical itches. But it was really lovely once we worked with the managers of the stores, and we really did a lot of hand holding, a lot of personal touch of one-to-one work with the manager of the store to get it up and running. When it was up and running and we did get past the technical snags, it worked beautifully. Everybody absolutely loved it. It was something they didn't know they needed. It's that there's an interesting analogy of Amazon and when they bought out Amazon Prime years ago, that no one wanted Amazon Prime. It wasn't a thing that the market wanted and needed. Yet they roll it out, and over a bit of hand holding and a bit of clever marketing, lo and behold, 10 years later, it's very hard to find someone who doesn't have Prime these days, and how we've relied on that convenience of it. And so it was a product within Lego that we rolled out and people didn't know they needed. But actually, they were like, oh my God, you know what? This has made our life so much easier and smoother. And it's fun. It's so much fun. I'm literally just I'm being paid to play games. I'm being paid to battle against somebody in a store in Hong Kong, play a game against them, and then just go and do what I love doing best about being shop front with the customers, having my hands on the bricks, building a set, and I'm getting paid to do this. This is crazy. And it was really lovely to see that evolve over time for deskless workers, because with a lot of it in the learning and development industry, a lot of it is aimed towards desk workers. So a lot of it is based around e-learning or classroom learning. And in some industries, you just can't do that. So it's really lovely to come up with a solution that people absolutely loved, that ticked both boxes.
A lot of the work that we do is in the mobility and automotive sector, and you just talked about sort of industry there for a second. How transferable do you think some of the kind of principles and conventions that you've used for this project with Lego are to other sectors, like other deskless workers, perhaps in the automotive sector or in energy sector?
Oh, absolutely transferable. Absolutely. And a lot of other sectors are quite ahead in terms of deskless workers and learning technology. automotive, military, medical, they've all been way ahead on the curve of these learning technologies for a long time. And so sometimes we look to other industries such as that to learn the lessons learned and what works well. And so it's really interesting to take that learning technology for deskless workers, but using the methodology of learning through play of Lego, because their methodology is use children as our role models. Have that curiosity, be childlike, be playful, be curious, ask those questions. Because somewhere along the way, as adults, in the pace of life, and especially in a business environment where time is money, especially if you're customer facing, we've lost that curiosity element. Sometimes people just do things and they don't know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they've just been told to do it this way, and that's how it's always been done. And so to give people permission and autonomy to have that curiosity, to ask the questions, to go probing down that little avenue and go, well, but why do we do it this way? Maybe it's better doing it this way. And so by people learning by doing is really, really powerful. And so when you do look at other industries that are time pressured as well, like automotive, military, medical, and some of those, they don't necessarily have room for error. They are time critical, they are mission critical workers, and they don't always have that luxury of being curious and having fun. But the idea is if you're a kinesthetic learner and you learn by doing, which a lot of deskless workers do learn by doing, they learn a lot smoother and easier. And that's why they've gone into the career they're in, because they don't want to be behind a desk and learning in theory. They want to learn by doing. So to all of these different industries and all the different ways that deskless workers approach learning, there's definite ways that we can all learn from each other across different industries. And we definitely should be more cross-functional, because I don't think we are. We tend to work in silo quite a lot. And that's why I love the power of my role, because I can bounce from industry to industry and learn all these different ways and best practices and bring different flavors from different areas to different companies.
How do you feel that the skills to do the job required have changed?
Huge, massively. A lot more towards the learning technology side, not only because we now live in such a fast paced digital age anyway. A lot of it is down to just the way we learn. We live in a very micro learning way. If you just take us on our way to work, scrolling through social media, catching up on the news, catching up on messages from our friends and family, we do it at a very micro learning fast pace. And we want to have fun while we're doing it. If you just search for something on Google and it takes more than 5 search results to find the answer you're looking for, you're bored, you're done, you don't want to be looking at it anymore, you've lost interest. And so it's really interesting the way as humans that we've evolved in learning. This week I was at the Learning Technologies exhibition and conference, and it's amazing to see how AI has just leaped forward, and it just surprised all of us of being this thing that was coming in the future we were curious about, and now it's front and center, and it's a disruptor, and it's very much, it's here, it's now, we're not escaping it, and it's very much now teaching learning professionals and also businesses how to keep pace with that, how to adapt your business to using AI, how to teach your staff how to use the right prompts, how to trust the responses that are given, how to tailor the responses that are given, and how to now in our everyday lives work at pace with AI. And so it's been really interesting seeing the industry evolve over the last only just 2 years. It's been very fast. From what was 5 years ago, virtual reality and augmented reality, to now it's AI. It's really impressive. And I'm dread to think what this time next year is going to look like. It's moving so fast.
Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us on Leap Forward today.